and all of that. Okay, so as I said, my name is Lisa Dublin, and I'm a life coach and a speaking coach and also a speaker. And I'm supposed to have a guest today, but I haven't seen him. So if you know Brother Chidi, tell him that he's supposed to be on the program right now, okay? But we're gonna get started. But before I do, let's talk about what's happening, why we are here. So there's a gala coming up in June that I wanted to speak with Chidi about because he's holding a Men of Honor gala in June, and we were going to talk about it today. But here is the bigger picture. When you are a speaker and things don't go the way that you have planned, you've got to think on your feet. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? And so I saw the time approaching and I hadn't seen Chidi. So I was like, you know what? I'm just still going to go live. So a speaker always has to be on the ball. You always have to have something up your sleeve so that if things don't go the way that you have planned, you have something else that you can do. Do you know what we're going to talk about today? I am going to present on a talk that I did on the week. Was it Friday? I did. I spoke with the Black Graduate Students Association at the University of Alberta, and I was saying to them that I really wanted, to talk about leading, LEAD, because one of the things that I teach in any of my speaking programs is that you can come across as very authentic and very fluent if you just put your points in an acronym. I was going to use the acronym of LEAD, but it's not just a matter of putting the points in an acronym. Any speaker knows that how you roll out ideas, they are supposed to be connected, and the way you connect them in your head has to make sense. Almost everything that I teach and I coach on and so on starts with desire. So I'm like, no, either I cannot use the acronym LEAD to speak to these young people, or I need to find another acronym. Lo and behold, in thinking of the topic and planning for it, I realized that the inverse of the word lead is actually deal, DEAL. Oh my goodness, you guys. That's what we're going to talk about today. That with these 4 points, you can become a leader who I believe is uncommon. So, are you ready for what DEAL stands for in your whole leadership role, wherever you are today? That person who leads in her or his own business, or the person who is in an organization and is leading, but it kind of feels run of the mill. What is uncommon wisdom, uncommon leadership? I would attribute it, especially in my context, to these 4 words. Are you ready? Or 4 concepts. The first one is desire. The second one is that you need to embrace your allies. The third one is aspire to greatness. And lastly, in that acronym DEAL, we're going to look at the L as meaning this phrase, to lead from the top. I know we always talk about leading, from the bottom and being humble and so on. My point of view is a bit different. And I think of all the 4 concepts in that acronym DEAL as a leader, leading from the top is the one that I appreciate the most. And when we come to it, I hope you're still around so we can talk about it. Okay, let's begin. Are you ready? So, desire is that first one. And when I did the speech on Friday, I asked the executive what were their personal plans for their roles within the executive of the Graduate Student Association. And it's a good thing that I asked that question because it was so insightfully answered in terms of the things that they pointed to that came from deep places within them that they wanted to highlight because they knew that other Black students like them were also experiencing, such hardships, trauma, aggressions, all of the things. And so even as the Black Graduate Student Association has its mandate, it also comes from through every executive wanting to do something to put a personal touch on what they want to accomplish for that year. And so, my question to you, even as you hear me talk about desire, if you are a leader, you've gotten the position. Perhaps it is obviously, it perhaps means that you're making more money. It also means that many professional things happen for you in terms of credibility, being on bigger stages, having more opportunities, meeting people who are more powerful. But deep down, what do you want to accomplish? What is the desire? Why are you in this position? If we stripped everything away, all the perks that came with your leadership position, and you are left with desire, what does that look like? Far too many people in my head, far too many people are just lukewarm. I feel like as you get older, as you to be an adult, I feel like life teaches us not to want things very much, to be very guarded, to, we have to treat with a lot of disappointment and perhaps even the red tape, let's face it, all of those things that kind of make you lukewarm in your approach to life. But a leader, an uncommon leader, has that red hot desire. It shows in your energy, it shows in the way that you push through, even when people tell you that things are impossible. Where is that coming from? Except from a place of desire. That's what it is. And so that's the first thing that I spoke with them about, that you have to have desire. As a leader, when it gets tough, when it looks impossible, when you are faced with deadlines, when you are faced with people who just seem stuck in bureaucracy and not wanting to move an organization forward, what do? You know, One example comes to mind. I used to work at an academic institution. I'm not here, not in Canada. I used to work at an academic institution. And when I came in, they realized that I had creative skills as well as, like, being an academic there. So I got co opted in voluntold. I got voluntold to do the newsletter for that organization. And I worked very hard on the newsletter, put my creative writing skills to it, etc. Would you believe one of the hardest things that I had to get past was that they did not want to change the name of the newsletter from, are you ready for this? The name of the newsletter, my listeners, was newsletter. Hey, the name of the newsletter was newsletter. And to get that generic name to be changed, it had to go to the board. These kinds of decisions make you want to give up and be like, what is the point? What is the point of doing this? And I think apart from the fact that I had to do it, the other thing that kept me going was wanting to have that creative output from the academic institution out there for the world to see. That was part of what kept me going, honestly. Because if you really think about it, how ridiculous is it? And a lot of leaders, a lot of managers, they get really disillusioned and leave or just settle into mediocrity because they lose the desire. An uncommon leader has desire. It comes from deep, it comes from far, it comes from their own consciousness of what the world is. And even when I coach people one on one or in the groups, we start with, why are you doing what you're doing? What's the end game here? Are you just here for a paycheck? Are you just here to look good on stage? Did you enter government or that leadership position just for your own aggrandizement? Or do you have something that's deeper and more abiding that perhaps can help more people? They always say that the best leaders are those who get into those positions, yes, to help themselves, but also having an understanding that they want to help more people. If you have that kind of desire that is philanthropic, looks outwards and not just what you can get for yourself, if you are constantly asking the question that is in other people's heads, we FM, have you heard that? It's a term we use in speaking, that when you speak, there's a sense of enticement. When you lead, there has to be that sense of enticement as well, that you answer the question in everybody's mind, what's in it for me? So how deep is your desire in anything that you do, especially if you are a leader? I'm speaking to you today. Do you still have the desire to lead? Is it being refreshed? And I think as leaders, we obviously have to take the time to refresh ourselves. We have to take the time for us to step back and to come away from the bureaucracy and the red tape and just the regular way of doing things and refuel that desire to keep you going in an uncommon way. Because I believe, like every way to the top, you can't get there by just doing the normal. No, you have to have something extra. And for me, the extra is desire. Let me give you another example of desire in action. So I'm training a couple speakers now to become professional speakers. And by the way, we're starting Find Your Fire pretty soon. I'm training a couple of them to be those speakers who come with a fire and want to do more in life, want to do more with the speaking ability, want to get on stage and give of themselves and feel, just I'm meant to do this, but at the same time, you are making an impact. But here's the thing, when I did the test group for Find Your Fire, I discovered something, and it was the desire factor, that not everybody who has the speaking ability wants to speak. The missing factor, my audience here today, has to be, it is desire. Well, how much do you want it? How is that showing up in your life? Is it showing up in the energy, in the fact that yes, you do the 9 to 5, but you are inspired to go after what is yours because you know that desire is going to make a difference. I am childlike that way. I take desire out of the realm of everything and I return it to its place. It's childlike. You remember when you were young and you wanted the doll or the truck at Christmas time? And you were hankering after it, asking for it, looking out for it, looking at it, savoring it. Perhaps in our context as adults, we can just, I think the equivalent is you wanting to buy something and you just constantly be looking at it on social media or in your Amazon cart, or if it's bigger, perhaps on one of the customized websites. You just keep hankering and looking after it. If you are a leader, the thing that you keep front and center is the vision for the company, the vision for the team, the vision that you, when you got in all fresh, fresh faced, the vision that you had at the beginning before you encountered the boards that were like 20 years behind time and employees who found every opportunity, to kind of thwart your efforts. Before all of those times, find the time to return to just savor and hanker after that vision once again. That I think is important. The E in deal as a leader. So we have D for desire, E for embrace your allies, A for aspire to greatness, and lastly, the L is to lead from the top. And I was speaking, when I gave this talk, I was speaking to the Black Graduate Students Association. And so it's very important, if you are in this North American context, that you recognize that you need to embrace your allies. If you are listening here today and you are in North America, you need to watch the Basement Chronicles Sunday interview that I did 2 weeks ago, I believe, with LeVar Saul. He is the founder of Think Meetups. And some of these members are listening here today. We want to shout him out. And that conversation, it was his second time on this interview. And he was talking about the importance of having allies. We need to embrace our allies in this fight for, not for equality, because we are always equal, okay? In this fight for equality, justice, for making things as they should be anyway, right? Because we have nothing missing and nothing broken, and we make no bones about it. Not, oh, absolutely. It's not even up for negotiation that we are equal. Like, let's not even go there. The whole fight is to make the world come up to what the reality is. That's what it is. And one of the things Liva was saying is that we cannot do this and push towards the things that we want to accomplish for the Black community without recognizing and appreciating our allies. I gave the example of when I worked at an office here, that one of my allies was my boss. She was white, and well, she I say she was white like she's not still white. It's just because she's white, and she just treated me like everybody else. I wasn't a token, I wasn't put on a pedestal, I was not denigrated. I was equal just like everybody else. When I did something good, I got lauded, I got appreciated like everybody else. When I was not up to scratch, I got pulled in like everybody else. And it was my first experience working in Canada. And I asked myself the question, like, why is she so comfortable with me? I was the only Black person in the office, and a lot of us listening to this here now, we are often the only Black people in the spaces that we occupy. But she treated me like everybody else, and I was so grateful for it, only to realize, pursuing relationship with her, that this woman was always in a relationship with other Black people. She had a Black best friend from the Caribbean, like me, for so many years before. And so she was it was because there was relationship and understanding that was built on years of friendship, that she now was able to relate as an ally in such a normal way. And one of the things I was saying to the group in terms of embracing allies is to go after friendship, learn to be around people, accept when people want to be around you, even though sometimes there might be questions that people could have already just Googled instead of just looking foolish. You know what I mean? If that happens, and if it's very racist, call it out, but give people some room to understand and to ask questions and to get to know you, because that can only, like, I think, promote allyship and help us to do it in a way that makes sense. Embrace your allies. You can't do it alone. And frankly, sometimes we as Black people, sometimes we are afraid to step out. We are afraid to go beyond our community because we've just heard everything. Okay. We are afraid for that. And so here's the thing. Let me just close this. I think my guest is calling me, you guys. Hold on. He better come on. He better just come on, or else we'll just have to abandon that interview or do it later or something. He probably got the times mixed up, but that's fine. So, do you have allies where you work, in your community, where you live, where you play, where your kids play? Like, reach out. You are a human being. And what the concept that I taught the group or reminded them of was the concept of looking across. We need to get into the habit of looking across at people. What does that mean? I'm not saying that you ignore somebody's seniority. That question came up because this Black Graduate Student Association, let me tell you, they are thinkers, okay? Like, this year is going to be great for this Graduate Student Association, because I mean, I was there in the beginning when they launched, and this is, I think, the sixth executive, perhaps from 2019 to now. But they are just thinkers. One of the questions I was asked is, how can you look across when you have, hierarchies in corporations, even between professor and student, etc.? And I said to them, I had the perfect answer because I have lived it. I'm looking across at you as a human being. Therefore, you are fallible. If I may, Black doesn't mean that it's wrong, and white don't mean right, and nothing in between. Okay, we say that, and it's very true. I'm looking across at you as a human being with the same attending graces, strengths, weaknesses that I do. Therefore, I can approach you as equal because that's what you are, and that's what I am. That's what I mean by looking across. A lot of us, when we lead, we have the preferences inbuilt that something's wrong with us and something's right with other groups, and that is just not true. If you learn, even within embracing allies, to come up to scratch and to look across at people, as opposed to putting even in your own head the fact that you might think you are not up to scratch or inferior and they are, then you have a problem. I'll never forget. I'm just full of stories. Let's go, okay? I will never forget one time, because I've told you all my story. Okay, when I first came here, I had to do a couple things like work at Walmart while I was doing my master's. I hated that job, the overnight stalker job. Oh my God, I hated that job so much. But anyway, I had to do it. I had to be part provider for my family. My husband's a great provider as well, and we do it together. And I will never forget one time a black colleague of mine got into trouble on the floor, almost came to fisticuffs. I have no idea what happened, but he was not taking another overnight stalker's nonsense, basically. And, so they almost got into it and he got suspended, I think, or he docked his pay or something of the sort. And it's something that he said that made me realize sometimes we need to deal with our own internal prejudices. He said to me that this guy, and he's not even white. Jeez, I felt so let down. Okay. When you say that, what exactly are you saying? When you say that, what exactly are you saying about who we are as Black people in the world? That's what I mean by settling in yourself, that you're gonna look across. I'm looking across at you so I can compliment you, and also I can pull you up as well because I'm looking across at you. Let me give you another example. When we lived in a condo, one of the things I taught my boys to do was this. Not okay. Let me just mute. Okay, can you hear me now? I think I muted my mic there for a little bit. I taught them to ask the question. So if somebody asks, where do you live? You have to return it with, no, where do you live? No, who are you? Because I belong here and I know that I do. I don't know that you belong here. When people question us, many times the assumption that we have and they're counting on us to have is that they belong and we don't. And it is not automatic. One of the clearest examples of that for me, and I gave this example in the talk that I gave. Do you guys remember just after George Floyd, there was the incident of the bird watcher in Madison Square? Where was it? In some big famous place in New York, in a garden, okay? Where there was this white woman who was walking in a park and her dog was unleashed and the dog should have been on the leash. And she was pulled up by this scientist, bird watcher, New Yorker who happened to be Black. His name was Chris. His first name was Chris. That's all I remember. He has still since gone on to gain lots of notoriety, and he has a show, I think, on National Geographic and all of that. One of the things that struck me about that incident was the way that this man was so comfortable in himself as being, you know, I'm, I belong, that he said to her, hey, you need to put your dog on a leash. And this was just after George Floyd when this happened. And I asked myself the question, especially even here in Canada, how many of us would be comfortable saying that to the other? Because so many of us look at ourselves as other. So many of us look at ourselves as other. Instead of having that sense of rightness and looking across at people, we look up and sometimes we look down. And neither of these varieties on the continuum make sense. Look across at people. So that way you acknowledge when you're wrong, you acknowledge when you're right. You acknowledge the weaknesses, you acknowledge your strengths. That's how it works. That's how it works. And because he did that, then what happened? She wasn't expecting a black man to approach her like that, with that sense of, hey, you no, just do the right thing. And so she just went into victimhood and tried to call the police and say a black man was attacking. And we know how that went. It didn't go well for her. She lost her job, she lost the dog, and I think after a while things kind of petered out, or whatever. But like we saw it. Central Park. Thank you, Leva. It was Central Park. Thank you. It was Central Park. Right. So that's it. You need to look across at people, and so in embracing allies, that's what you do. So Chidi's here. So I'm going to just speed along with the other two, and which is to aspire to greatness. And for me, we need to know where we came from. People like to say stuff like, oh, the past does not matter. It doesn't matter if I'm going to wallow in the victimhood. But if we understand, and this is in the context of the University of Alberta I was speaking, we have a tradition of Black intellectuals doing great things at the University of Alberta. We have a tradition of people from the 1970s, and I gave them the list of people that I had pulled up. From the 1970s to present day, there were and there are Black graduate students from the University of Alberta who have done great things. So when you lead in such a context, you have to aspire to greatness. You have to come with the knowing that you are not reinventing the wheel, that you're not starting a new tradition of Black people doing great things. Thank you very much. And the deepest proof of that is to point back to who those people were. You have to aspire to greatness. That any kind of Black, like an ERG, or even a Black led organization or Black leader, you cannot just accept the victimhood. This is what they have done to us. This is who we are. In this place, you cannot make it. What about those who made it in spite of? What about having the attitude that even though we have done and seen all of these, like inequalities and the unfairness, in spite of, Black people have been succeeding and surviving and thriving in this institution and in this place. Why don't we point people there and to say that if we have that tradition, we are simply just continuing it? So that A is aspiring to greatness. And then lastly, in terms of leading from the top, is to have that sense that I'm not a victim. Okay. If it is, and if the reality is that I have, and this is what I always go back to, the genesis of who I am, that God made me. And if I had a BMW, if I had a BMW, I was not going to go to a Ford manual to find out who I am. I'm sorry. It doesn't make logical sense. So then why would I have another human being just like me try to define me? You did not make me. Deion Sanders has this little post on Instagram where he talks about that. He's like, you didn't make me. You can tell me who I am. And I believe, apart from the feistiness, which we can definitely do with, the truth of the matter is somebody made you. What did that person say about you? So if I'm leading from the top, it is to recognize that I'm leading from nothing missing, nothing broken. That understanding of rightness, the decisions that you make, the things you aspire to, geez, and how far you see yourself going and your organization going, it is different. A leader who believes in greatness and who aspires to it and leads from the top like that is able to accomplish more. I interviewed somebody once all the way back in St. Lucia when I had a live TV show. And there was this girl going up for politics, right? Very young, but aspirational and leading from the top. And they were trying to smear her with all sorts of things. And this is what she said. She came on an interview and she said this. She's like, you know what? When eagles are flying on high, they don't get touched by when guppies are like in dirty water. Like you're not gonna splash on me because I'm supposed to be higher than this, right? And many times we forget and we get in the muck But if you're leading from the top, there's a measure of separation, not in terms of not getting down and knowing what's on the ground, but not letting it infect, not letting it, like, get into your psyche. So it's, I think this lead, this deal, having desire, embracing allies, aspiring to greatness, and leading from the top, these are four powerful things that over the years, even me in any leadership position, and especially as a leader having my own business and dealing with leaders one on one in my coaching, I realize that it works. It's a strategy for overcoming just a lot of the day-to-day muck that comes with being a leader. So I hope this kind of kept you interested for the first half hour. My guest is here. Chidi, what happened? I'm going to bring him on. I'm going to bring Chidi. What happened? Oh my goodness. Did you get the time wrong? What happened?
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for your patience, and I apologize to everyone. Lisa, the last time we spoke was 1 p.m., so I was working at 1 p.m. I guess
No, it was, I put
challenge. I
12
have to
in
go
the
to
chat.
bed.
So it's a good thing it was in text and not audio, Mr. Chidi. It's in the chat.
I
That's
apologize.
fine. That's okay. I was just saying, I'm sure you know that too. You are an accomplished speaker. That a speaker has to be able to just think on her feet, on his feet. So I had to quickly, like, just come up with what I did the last time, a speech that I gave. I just go with that until I'm happy you're here today. How are you doing?
And well, thank you for asking, and I'm so glad that I'm here.
Okay, so
I've actually looked forward to this conversation for a very
I
long time. So
know.
you can imagine, how I am looking forward to it. And then I got a text, but
Oh
that's
my
fine.
goodness.
I'm
Yeah.
here
Oh, you did you get a text from somebody who said you're supposed to be here, or from me?
from you, and I'm like, I responded to it, but I realized you were on
Yeah,
air.
that's
Okay,
what, so I had to cut the
so
call. But I'm so happy you're here. It's always good to have, just to chop it up. And I recall from our last conversation, you remember when it got really animated at the end? That's when, like, you got fired up. Oh my goodness. So we have half an hour because I have my Speak with Confidence students at the top of the hour. So let's get right into a couple things. Chidi, before we go there, right? You know what I want to talk about first? The consistency. Because a lot of people I coach and wanting to do 9 to 5 and to have their side hustle, they always get, oh, I'm tired and I don't have the time and all of that. But you seem to be very consistent. I think we touched on it the last time. Where is that consistency coming from? How are you able to keep on, like, just doing the side things even while you do the 9 to 5? Tell us about that.
it so happens that we have so many hats, and sometimes wearing those so many hats can be very complicated. But it's also about the kind of vision and mission that you have, the ministry that has been deposited in you. I'll give you an example. When we talk about men's health and wellness and the group of men that I lead and that we walk every weekend, you see some of the messages that come from there or some of the reactions that you get from there, and it makes it all the more worthwhile for you to step out and do what you have vision to do. So people join us on average now, like 4 new people every Saturday. And when they come back, and when I ask them that question, are you going to come back next week? And they say yes. And then when they come back next week and you ask them, how are you feeling? I said, oh, I wish I had started doing this 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So that keeps you going in the sense that perhaps there's a need in the community. Perhaps there's something that is out that we need to fill out there. And knowing that you are able to meet that need, help those people, help provide a safe environment is part of the energy and part of the fuel that carries us
Oh wow,
through.
that's great. There's a meme I used to post a lot during COVID to keep myself motivated, and it said, "You don't work 8 hours for somebody and then go home and don't work on your own goals. You're not tired. You're uninspired." So it seems to me you are very inspired, Judy. Very inspired to do what you do. So let's get into it. What do you do, or what is the men's movement about? Let's start there.
So in Canada, And rightly so. We have had organizations and support for children. We know in the hierarchy of power, children are the least. So the society supports the most vulnerable, which is what government is supposed to do, close the gap between the powerful and the vulnerable. That is the main work of government. Now, if you look at the society, the kids are the most vulnerable, okay? And then followed by women, obviously the decades of disempowerment and all of that. And then men, okay? But what we have seen is maybe, in a sense, we have overcompensated for what has happened in the past. Because if you look, there are no programs to support men,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
especially men in the immigrant community. And here is why it's
Mm-hmm.
important. Canada. Now, I tell you, varies from where you are coming from. So for those who are coming mostly from the Black African, Caribbean side of things, they tend to find it a lot more stressful than for people who are like Caucasians, say moving from the United States or from the UK and coming into Canada, almost
Mm-hmm.
like seamless. Now, there are not so much support in terms of helping men to A, get
Mm-hmm.
acclimatized in this society, B, find the mental health support that they need through the whole journey, and see the ongoing support that they will need to support them as they go through the immigration experience here, the settlement experience here. And why that is important is so many of us men who come and who have had, say, successful high level positions where we come from, and we come in here and we have to start afresh. What is that impact
Yeah.
on our mental health? What is that impact on our physical health? Where does that place us? What kind of support do we have going through that whole journey, finding yourself again? And we are not the people that are used to therapy. We are not the people that are used to counseling. We are not the people that are used to opening
Coaching.
up, right? So that is where the challenge it lies. So
Mm-hmm.
creating that space where men can come and say, "Hi, listen, in spite of everything that is I am that for, I don't know what the next step is. I'm even thinking that I have made a huge mistake." Those kind of conversations that we don't say outside. That is what is important. That's what we're doing, what we're doing.
Okay, wow, that's awesome. And so we went into that quite a lot. I'd encourage people to go on Basement Chronicles and to please subscribe, and you can see the playlist of the Sunday interviews, and Chidi was on in March. So that interview is there. So you can learn more about it. What we're here to speak about is an upcoming gala. So tell us about the Edmonton Father's Day Gala, Chidi. Let's get right into it.
Thank you. So every year we celebrate Mother's Day. In my family, we celebrate Mother's Day, Catholic
Every
Mother's
day.
Day, Anglican, we celebrate North America, we celebrate African, we celebrate every single, but there is not one time that we celebrated fathers. And this is very important because men typically, we don't ask for recognition, we don't ask for awards, we don't ask to be celebrated. We do it as part of our duty. We do it as we move forward. So this year, we're looking at, okay, we've been doing this for quite a while. We've not had this opportunity since we came to Canada, right?
Mhm.
Since we came to Edmonton. And so let's bring men together in a room, have us network with each other, encourage each other, support each other, and say, you are seen, you are doing
Mm.
well, you matter. It's important that you are here. What you do, the things that you do when nobody sees you out of the limelight, the things you do to keep the families running, those
Yeah.
things are very important. So we celebrate men just once in the year. And so
Yeah.
the idea is those many times we hear toxic masculinity. Many times we hear domestic violence. Many times we hear when men stray. But we don't talk about the ones where we stay the course, where in spite of all the challenges that are being thrown at us, we stay the
Mhm.
course for the family, stay the course for leadership, we stay the course for the community. We keep giving, but
Mhm.
nobody is asking to be celebrated. And we thought that it's one time we can just come together as men, as fathers, sit down and review the journey for us from even the multicultural perspective that we're coming here. So that's what the Father's Day Gala is for.
Wow,
Just
that
one evening where we can celebrate men. That's it.
Yeah, and you know what? So I'm married and I have three sons. So I know the value of compliments. Compliments makes muscles grow like muscles grow bigger than the head. And I find men thrive on, or the males thrive on compliments, on being told that they're doing a good job. Is that part of the makeup, you think, of being masculine? What is it, Chidi? Give us all the details for all the women
So
out there.
it's for them, it's the makeup of being human. It doesn't
Being
matter whether you are male or whether you are female.
yes.
Everybody wants to be complimented. Everybody wants to be told that they're trying, because people are trying, right? People are
Mhm.
doing the best they can. Sometimes in circumstances that the men never reveal. You go
Yeah.
through so many things. You work, you stay awake in the night and all of that, and then you come up there and everybody sees you as a strong, very consistent character that you are. Can I reveal a secret? Many of
Yes.
us go into the washroom and we cry. Many of
Oh.
us face things that we can't tell anybody. And then when we come out, we wash our face, we clean our face, and we come out and we are strong again. Why? Because the society had enabled this version of men that says we can't cry in public, says that we can't show weakness, and shows that we can't even be vulnerable.
Right.
But we do, because we are human, because the blood that flows through us is the same. So we're saying, for once, let's not take our presence for granted. Let's not take the things that we've done in the community building that we do,
Mm-hmm.
for granted. Maybe it's time for us to have that conversation. And listen, Lisa, I
Mm-hmm.
know that it's a very uphill task that we are doing here, because we are
Yeah.
coming again, we are trying to do something that is not the norm, but it's necessary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, it's
I think there
necessary for
have
that
been
work.
mm-hmm. Chidi, I think there have been like stuff celebrating men before, but yours promises to be different. Maybe we should go to that. I know we're cut for time, Chidi. But let's talk about why this one will be different, because you seem to have a different outlook on things.
Yeah, why it will be different is, first of all, we are doing this from a multicultural perspective. So it's the different cultures of Edmonton. Because
Mm,
when you look at it, fatherhood is the same. We have the worries about, are we celebrating our kids? Are we parenting? Are we positioning them well? Are we being are we keeping that balance between being hard and being soft, being emotional, etc., etc.? And some many times we have that self-doubt, but we don't. Where do we go to express it? How do we even find opportunities to check in with one another and say, how are you doing?
mhm, mhm.
Okay. So the reason this is different is we are looking at it from a multicultural perspective.
So this is not
And
just a black thing. This is not just a black thing. Oh wow,
no,
this
we're
is
not looking at it from a black thing. We're looking at it that we are coming in and we see each other and we support each other and we talk to each other and we get inspired for one evening to go back and do more.
Mhm. Mhm. That's great. Now, so what do you hope people are going to walk away with? What will the men? Because obviously, you can't change an entire situation in one night, but still, what do you hope people walk away with?
Every single Saturday when we walk and we ask the people, what are you taking away from this walk? You see inspiration. You see people feeling seen. I know it's something that we take for granted. You see people seeing being empowered. That's what we are looking at, to say, after this evening, when you go from here, when you go back to go pick your responsibilities, please note that you have a community of people who are on the same journey with you. You are
Mhm.
not alone. Those times when you feel so lonely, those times when you feel that you can't go on, remember there are support available in the community that you can reach out for. And
Mhm.
by the way, it's not a weakness to ask for support. So we're hoping that by the time men we have this event and we people are living there, they feel empowered, inspired, and appreciated to do more for the community.
Because it's an award ceremony as well, right? People have to be nominated according to different categories. So, can you tell us more about these different categories for the awards?
There are so many untold stories in our community, so many people who are doing things, who are inspiring the next generation, building the community, who are being resilient, who have gone through so many things in life and are still there going on. We want to tell these stories and we are asking for the community to help us. If you know somebody, and there are many of us, who
Mhm.
have lived with these silent heroes, these people who are not. If you know somebody whose story is worth telling so that others will be inspired, please let us know. And
Mhm.
that we have 6 categories. So we're going to have community dad, we have legacy dad, we have even new dad of the year, we
Oh
have
wow.
resilient dad, and all of that. There are 6 categories, and we're asking for people to help us bring out these stories that we have in our families, in our communities, so that we can also tell their stories and use that to inspire others who are coming behind.
Okay, two questions. Tell me about the legacy dad. I'm interested in that. What does that mean, or does it entail? And then where can people get that information? Where can people go to find out more? And to, are nominations still open, Chidi?
Right, the nominations are still open, yes.
When do they close?
The nominations and the tickets are still open. The nominations will probably close around 2 weeks before, so at
Oh,
the beginning of June.
June,
That's when
yeah.
the nominations will close. I'll talk to you a little bit about legacy that
Yes.
you before we came here, you were asking people to remember. I overheard that part of the convention to remember that where they are today, there have been people who had walked that past. The example you gave was about leadership, for example, in the U of A, how black people, how blacks have worked there, provided leadership and all of that. The point is that so many of those things we don't even know about. We don't
Mhm.
know about. So the generation that comes today think that are starting today, that everything they're seeing is because of their power. There's a statement, there's a word I tell people in my community. I say, I have been around elders in our community, people who were here when it was strange to see a black person. When people would
It
meet
was
them
Bush.
in house at the outside and be touching their skin just to feel that
Yeah.
they're different. There have been people here who are way qualified than us when we came in,
Mhm.
when they came in, but they were not given so many of those leadership opportunities. They kept walking, they kept stripping the stones away, kept working on it until today. You can come in here, you become a leader, you become a manager in your place. It's not because of your intelligence. It's
Mm,
not because of your experience. It's because there are people who have been given these responsibilities and they perform.
right.
So we are seeing far today because we are standing on the shoulders of giants. The problem is nobody tells the story of those giants.
Yeah.
So we are saying,
No, go ahead, please.
and so we are saying this is one time for us to check what has happened, the people who have built the communities, different aspects of life here, and bring them up so that we can celebrate them. We can say we remember, and you are
Yeah.
not forgotten.
And there's a certain comfort that comes in resting on the shoulders of, the great ones, because you realize, okay, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. They came before me, they've opened that path. There's a way that you go when you know you have legacy. So I see the benefit of just having that category and getting the information out there of who has gone before. That's great. Okay, so let's move on, because we're running out of time. But tell us about health. You're offering free PSA checks. Is that supposed to repel or to attract the men? What do you think?
Every opportunity we have, we must talk about men's health.
Okay.
And the biggest challenge for men from the physical perspective is our reproductive system.
Yeah.
And so the statistics are very bad in terms of prostate cancer, particularly in the immigrant community. And we have enough for profit that are giving this free screening. They're free. So we're partnering with them to say, as we do these things for men, part of what we're also doing is providing is an opportunity for you to go, and it's just a blood. They just take your blood,
Hmm.
so it's not horribly
Okay.
invasive. They just take your blood and do the test, and it's so private they're sending the results to you. So they
Okay.
will do the diabetes test, prostate cancer test, and um, some other wellness checks for you, blood pressure as well. So because so many of us are also having challenges going to the hospital to go do all of this, and so we're bringing more or less the services you get to the hospital close to you at this event. So
Okay.
when you come in, there'll be opportunities for networking. There'll be opportunities for you to have some health screens. There'll be opportunity for you as well to eat good food and to listen to men talk about their trials, their successes, and their worries, the things that they wish that they had known better. The idea is to inspire those who are coming or who are on this journey to do more. So yes.
Okay. So this is a good is this is an annual event, is it?
Yeah, we are hoping to make it annual. Yes, it's
Yeah,
going to
it
be
sounds
annual.
really, really good. So the next question, because it really sounds powerful and very useful. And I'm happy you spoke about the checks not being that invasive, that it's blood tests and so on. Because I was like, okay, how is this going to happen? But it's great to have explanation. So how can we get involved and support?
There are, if you leave this to men, we've been in the background for a long time. So one is buy the ticket for the men in your life, send them off, let them go and hang out with your guys for Father's Day. Hey, on the eve of Father's Day, it's not even on the Father's Day itself. So you still have the men back home early
Mhm.
enough for you to do whatever you've planned on Father's Day the next day. That's number one. So we really want you to give men in your life, fathers, husbands, sons in your life, this gift of coming
Mhm.
for this Father's Day celebration. That's number one. Number two is to help us nominate the people that you have seen in the course
Mhm.
of your work, in the course of living, that have that have really impacted you in a very positive way, that we can bring up and say these are heroes, unsung heroes. These are examples that we can follow. Please nominate them for us, and then we have members of the community saying, oh, this one here is a good story for us to bring up, and the person wins the award. Number three is to share the information around. We have networks, we have groups, we have places that we can reach. If you forward the flyers, share the information with the people in your network, that will help us a great deal.
Okay. And special shout out to the Think community that might be listening. Any member there, the flyers are in the Think community groups, the promotional tab, etc. So we can go share it amongst ourselves and into our own private groups to really boost this up. That's the whole point, right? So about the women, every woman was just like, yeah, yes, for sure. If we leave it up to them, the tickets might not, they will never, like take this leap. How are women already stepping up to make this gala a success?
Oh, there are so many women that have called me, encouraged us for the idea, helping us share the flyers, putting it on their DPs, sending it to groups. More importantly, buying tickets for their husband and say, hey, you know what? This is early Father's Day, a gift for you. Go and hang
Mhm.
out with your friends. Who knows? They will come there and network, and big friendships and relationships and businesses can come out from there, because when men come together, we talk about how do we make more money, and who benefits from when we make more money? The family. So the idea is, let's we need the support of the whole community for this event, so that we can make it as successful and as engaging for men as possible.
Thank you so much, Chidi. Any parting words for the men, or to come out and support? If anybody's on the fence, what would you say to kind of flip them onto the side of I'm coming? This is important. This is valuable. Apart from what we just said there.
Yeah. So when men need men,
Yes.
strong men need strong men, communities need strong men. And the way to do it is to find those opportunities where you can be empowered, where your spirit can be rekindled, so that you continue to do what you're doing. For those of us who are Christians, there's a Bible quote that says, if you think you are strong, beware lest you fall. That is why we need each other. That's why we need everybody holding hands. So we want you to please come out, inspire others, be inspired yourself, help us to build this community where men for one night can be celebrated and feel seen.
Wow, that's awesome. And the date again is June 14th.
June, June 14th, 2025, and the venue is downtown, the Polish Hall,
Okay. All right.
downtown.
And okay. And last question is, where can we get more information? Is there a website or a link that we can send people to? I can type it in if you want me to, actually.
Yes, there's the link on Eventbrite, where people can buy
Okay.
the ticket. There's
Mm-hmm.
also the landing page on the
Let's
on
see.
our website.
Mm-hmm. Can you give it to
That
us, or putting it up?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I'm trying. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that would be great to help people, to know it. So you can go to on Eventbrite and look for, is it Movement of Men? What's the
It's
name of it?
Father's Day celebration, Father's Day gala.
Father's Day Gala. So you look for Father's Day Gala on Eventbrite, everybody, and that's where you can get the tickets, right? Also, you can go to the website that Chidi's going to give us just before we get out of here. Um, to let's see, or if not, can we get it on your website on chidispeaks.com?
Right now, I haven't linked it up. Actually,
Okay.
yes, you could.
Yes,
Yes,
you can.
actually,
Okay,
go
so
to
then
the
it's on the
community.
website.
Yeah,
Okay.
go to the community, and then
Okay.
you will see the TIRF website.
Okay.
And yeah,
And
and
then
just
here's your website. I was just on it not too long ago. And by the way, it looks really nice. By the way, I really, really like your website. Okay,
thank you.
chidispeaks.com. All right, Chidi, I wish we had more time just for idea sharing. You know how we do? Just to share ideas, my brother. But we're out of time. But I hope people got the information. June 14, the Father's Day Gala is meant to celebrate the unsung heroes, the dads who are plodding away, keeping their heads down, keeping their families together, and making a difference. We want to honor them. I think one of the most important things about the celebration, Chidi, is that it's multicultural. So it's us in the Black community reaching out to our big Edmontonian community to say, hey, we are here and we acknowledge every single person. So
Yes,
thank you.
that's well said. I put the link to you so you can just pick it up and
Okay, let
send
me
it
cut
to.
and paste. So, okay, here's the website, you guys. If anybody's interested, here's the exact website that you can go to. If you're on LinkedIn or YouTube, you can see that. Don't forget, folks, to subscribe to Basement Chronicles, the channel, because when we do have the notifications will just come to you, and you don't have to be scrolling and so on. It will just come to your inbox, etc. So you can know when we do have new guests. We have another guest next week, Sunday as well. So watch out for that. Chidi, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me, and I apologize for the mix-up.
No problem. You made up for it. Okay, everybody, have a great Sunday, and I'll see you next week. Bye.